I keep getting phone calls from myself at 2:30 a.m., and the truth terrifies me. I don't usually write things like this. To be honest, I never thought I'd be the kind of guy posting on the internet about something paranormal. I've always been a skeptic, more interested in numbers, facts, and things I can see with my own eyes. I studied engineering. I design things, fix things, calculate outcomes. I don't scare easily. But what happened 3 weeks ago broke something inside me. Since then, I haven't been able to sleep properly. I can't eat. I can't concentrate at work. Every time the phone buzzes in my pocket, my stomach drops like I'm about to fall down an elevator shaft. Because I know, it might be him again. And by him, I mean me. It started on a Thursday night. At exactly 2:30 a.m. I remember the time, because I glanced at my alarm clock the second my phone rang. The sound tore through the silence of my apartment, loud and violent in the dark. I live alone, and nobody calls me that late. Not unless something terrible has happened. I grabbed my phone from the nightstand and saw something that made me freeze. Incoming call. My name. And beneath it, my own number. At first, I thought it was a glitch, some spoofing scam. But curiosity got the better of me, and with my heart pounding in my throat, I slid my thumb across the screen and answered, "Hello." There was a pause, just heavy breathing. Then a voice came through. My voice? Don't go tomorrow. The voice whispered, strained and urgent. Listen to me. Don't go to the meeting. Don't sign anything. Please just stay home. I sat up straight in bed, wide awake, every hair on my body standing up. What the hell is this? Who are you? It's me. The voice said. It's you. Listen to me. I don't have much time. And then the line went dead. I sat there in the dark, staring at the screen, waiting for it to light up again. My reflection stared back at me from the black glass bale, stunned, eyes wide. For the next hour, I couldn't move. I just kept replaying the sound of the voice in my head. It wasn't just similar. It was exact. The tone, the rhythm, even the way it cracked when I said certain words. It was like hearing a recording of myself, only older, rougher, tired. I didn't sleep again that night. By morning, I had convinced myself it was some elaborate prank. Maybe one of my friends had cloned my number, used an AI voice filter. It was 2025, technology could do crazy things. Still, the message rattled me. Don't go to the meeting. Don't sign anything. Thing is, I did have a meeting scheduled that day. A big one. My boss, Tom, had been pressuring me for weeks to finalize a deal with a partner company. It wasn't anything too unusual, just paperwork, contracts, the usual corporate nonsense. But now those words rang in my head like a warning. When I walked into the office, fluorescent lights buzzing above, I couldn't shake the paranoia. Tom slapped me on the back. Ready to make history today, he said with his salesman's grin. Yeah, I lied. I sat through the meeting, nodding at all the right times, but my hand shook every time I reached for the pen. The man across from me, Steven, the partner rep, slid the final contract across the table. Everyone waited for me to sign, and I hesitated. The warning replayed in my mind. Don't sign anything. I stared at the pen like it was a weapon. Finally, I muttered something about needing more time to review the terms. Tom gave me a sharp look, but I pushed the contract back. Tomorrow, I said. I'll sign tomorrow. That night, I couldn't relax. I kept my phone face up on the nightstand, waiting, hoping, dreading. At 2:30 a.m., the screen lit up again. Incoming call. My name. I answered with a shaky hand. Hello. Relief washed over me when I heard the voice again. My voice. You listened, it said, almost breathless. Good. You bought yourself some time. What the hell is going on? Who are you really? It doesn't matter. Just listen. Don't trust Tom. Don't trust Steven. They're not who you think. You have to. The line glitched, breaking into static. Then it cut off again. I slammed my phone on the bed. Damn it. I called the number back immediately, but it rang once and went straight to voicemail. My own voicemail. The next morning, Tom stormed into my office. What the hell happened yesterday? He snapped. You embarrassed me in front of the partners. I stammered some excuse about needing legal approval. Tom's eyes narrowed. He wasn't buying it. By lunchtime, I got a text message from an unknown number. Just one sentence. You can't stop it forever. I froze. My hands went cold. The following nights, the calls kept coming. Always at 2:30 a.m., always from my number. Each time, the voice gave me another piece of advice, another warning. Don't take the elevator tomorrow. Use the stairs. Don't drive down Fifth Avenue. There will be an accident. Check under your desk drawer. He left something there. Each time, I listened. Each time, the warnings came true. One morning, I avoided the elevator in my building. Later, I found out it got stuck between floors for 3 hours. Another day, I took a different route to work and saw the aftermath of a brutal collision on Fifth Avenue. And when I checked under my desk drawer, taped to the wood was a tiny flash drive. No note, no explanation, just the drive. When I plugged it into my laptop at home, I found a folder full of documents, financial records, emails, transfers, all pointing to Tom fraud, embezzlement, millions siphoned into shell accounts. I slammed the laptop shut, my heart racing. What the hell had I stumbled into? I wanted to confront him, to storm into his office and demand answers, but fear held me back. If Tom was dirty, then Stephen probably was too. And if they were willing to steal millions, what else were they capable of? That night, when the phone rang, I was ready. Okay, I snapped as soon as I picked up. I believe you, but if you're really me, from the future, or whatever, then tell me why. Why are you helping me? There was silence, just breathing. Then, finally, because I didn't listen the first time, and it destroyed everything. My mouth went dry. What do you mean? You'll find out, the voice said. But if you want to survive this, you have to do exactly what I say. No questions, no hesitation, just trust me. And then the call ended. I didn't know what to do anymore. I was trapped between two nightmares. The possibility that someone had hacked my life and was manipulating me, or the possibility that it was true that the voice really was me, warning me from some future I didn't want to imagine. Either way, I was in too deep to walk away. And that's when things started to get worse. When I told myself to trust the voice, I didn't expect that. Trusting it would feel like walking, blindfolded through a room full of knives. The flash drive changed everything. I sat on the floor of my apartment with my back against the couch, the laptop open on my knees, files blinking in a neat, terrible sequence. Bank statements, wire transfers, internal memos with my boss's signature. There was a word escrow used the wrong way across multiple documents. It was sloppy enough that any halfway competent auditor would spot it, but hidden behind layers of legitimate-looking invoices and vendor accounts. Whoever had done this had tried to make it look like routine corporate juggling. Whoever had done this knew the system, knew how to camouflage money. And Tom's name was everywhere. I could have gone to the police then. I could have sat with an investigator, handed over the files, explained everything, my calls, my fear, my suspicion. But there was a problem. The voice had said again and again, don't trust Tom. Don't trust Stephen. The flash drive proved that much. But I also knew the company had people who laughed at conspiracy and buried whistleblowers. Who could tell if my claim that future me had sent me a drive would be believed when there were lawyers and PR teams ready to smear me into an unemployment packet? So I did the thing that used to be my specialty. I calculated the risk. I made a plan that was small enough to not look like a revolt, but big enough to create noise. Noise that would force someone else to take notice. First, I copied the files to a cloud drive and created a duplicate on a secure USB I wrapped in duct tape and slid into the lining of my jacket. If anything happened to me, the files would be somewhere else. That was step one. Step two was to test whether Tom was already watching me. For 3 days I behaved like a boring, obedient employee. I showed up early, asked for assignments, laughed at jokes that weren't funny. I ate lunch at my desk. I watched their faces. People who are guilty move differently, too measured or too quick. Tom's face was a study in dull confidence. Stephen was slicker, oily, like someone who had practiced being charming in a mirror. On the 4th day I did something stupid enough to pull a reaction. I printed a copy of a single, non-critical memo from the drive and left it on the copier in the common area where Tom could easily see it. The memo wasn't incriminating, just an invoice chain that hinted at irregularities but could be explained away by accounting errors. It was bait? Tom's reaction was immediate. He walked out of his office with paper in hand like a man entering a trap. He asked me in the hallway if I knew anything. My shoulders were stiff with an inner tremor, but I smiled and told him no. I had just found the memo and thought someone should look at it. His eyes drilled into me for a breathless second, and something like calculation passed over his face. He nodded slowly, said good, and walked away. Not scolding, not accusing. That silence was worse. That night, at 2:30 a.m., the call came as usual. The voice was breathless on the other end. You baited him, it said. Good. Now keep him talking. Get him to say something incriminating. Record it. Don't do it in the office. Where? I asked. A bar. The one on Mercer. Tomorrow night. He drinks too much when he thinks there's no risk. Tom never frequented dive bars. He liked places with valet and leather booths, but I knew which bars a man like him visited when he wanted to be casual. Mercer was on the list. The idea of confronting Tom in a public place felt reckless. But the voice, my voice, had led me this far. And whatever logic was running behind those midnight warnings had worked. If I rowed my own little boat into the right current, maybe I could pull out a confession that would sink him. The Mercer was dim and smelled of spilled beer and fried food. Tom sat at the far end of the bar with a man I didn't recognize. One of those men who could disappear into any wall and become wallpaper. Tam waved me over like he was glad to see an employee, like he was proud of me. We drank. I asked the right questions. I laughed at the right places, steering the conversation with surgical questions about supply chains and vendor thresholds, about why certain companies billed for services that were never performed. He got casual, and then cocky. When a man gets cocky around a junior employee who flatters him, he sometimes forgets he's under observation. When he forgot, I started the recorder on my phone under the table. After the third whiskey, Tom's charm curdled. He leaned in and said, "You know how this company is run, right? It's not about invoices. It's about control. There is money that needs moving. People get paid. You don't want to look too deep, kid. Curiosity gets you fired, or worse." He smiled around the words. I push him. What if someone is looking? What if they look and find something they shouldn't? I asked. He laughed, cheap and quick. Then they're an idiot, he said. The trick is to make the paper trail so messy they don't know what's what. By the time some green kid thinks he's solved it, the auditors have vacations booked. You get me? It was a confession by 1,000 tiny angles. Nothing explicit about embezzlement, but 1,000 fingerprints of guilt. My recorder caught the slurred cadences. The man he sat with left quietly. When I left the bar that night, the recorder file was in my pocket, and my sense of safety was notched down another peg. The voice was right again. I had something. Evidence. Not enough yet to go public, but enough to make a plan with someone who could move mountains, or at least make enough noise to put pressure on the company. I contacted an old college friend, Maya, who had turned her grit into investigative journalism. I didn't tell her about the calls. I told her about the documents and the bar conversation. She was skeptical, good skeptical, asked for files, asked to run her own checks. She didn't meet me in public. She emailed, "Bring me proof." A meeting place. I trust my eyes, not midnight voices. We agreed on a cafe at noon. I wore sunglasses because I felt exposed. Maya was all elbows and quick smiles and eyes that never stopped calculating angles. I handed her a flash drive that contained the files and the audio from the bar. She plugged it into her laptop and her face changed. The kind of change that isn't shock but a recognition of the weight of what you are holding. She looked at me like someone who had been handed live ammunition. "This could ruin them," she said. "But, are you sure you want to start a war?" "I'm sure," I said. She spent the afternoon checking the metadata, cross-referencing account numbers, looking at the vendors. "This is messy, but it's real," she said. "There are shell companies tied to addresses with forwarding services, wire transfers with amounts rounded oddly. Tom's signature is on many of these. If this is exposed, people will go to jail." Her fingers paused over the keyboard, as if she could sense the weight of the next action. "We need more. We need a smoking gun, something explicit. Otherwise, they'll bury it." "Can you get more?" I asked. She didn't look up. "I can try. But if you screw around, if anybody finds out you had some kind of weird advantage, people will think you fabricated this. You need to be clean." That night, when the phone rang at 2:13, I wasn't sure if I'd be relieved or crushed. The voice was waiting. "You did well," it said. "Maya can help, but she can't move fast enough. There's a meeting tomorrow night at the warehouse cash audit. Stephen and Tom will be there. You need to know what they do when they think no one watches. There will be a door to the back, left side. There's an air duct. Crawl through. You'll find a binder. Take a picture. Get out. Don't get caught." I stared at the ceiling. An air duct, a warehouse. Break-ins and sneaking into vents were not my expertise, but the voice had been right every time. And the idea of letting them siphon money and walk free felt like a betrayal I could not live with. The warehouse was at the edge of the industrial district, smelling of oil and old rubber. I parked blocks away and walked, choosing shadows like stepping stones. The back door was propped by a cheap brick, and the night shift hum of refrigeration units masked more subtle noises. I found the duct the voice had mentioned and stripped the screws with trembling fingers. The metal was colder than I expected. The vent opened into blackness that smelled like dust and sweat. Inside, crawling on elbows, I felt ridiculous and terrified and alive in a way I hadn't felt for years. The duct opened above a staging area where the men laughed and slapped each other on the back. Stephen was there, all teeth and smooth talk, filling a clipboard with notes. Tom stood beside him with a swagger that made my teeth ache. beneath a stack of shipping boxes. In a shelf labeled innocuously with a vendor name, I found the binder. It was thick and leather-bound with tabs. I snapped pictures as fast as my hands would let me, the photos catching names, account numbers, a list of shell companies and transfer dates that matched the spreadsheets on my drive. Then a voice from below said, "Is someone up there?" The blood drained from my face like water. I hesitated only a second. Then I pulled myself back into the duct and closed the screws. With a single hand that wouldn't stop shaking, I slipped out into the alley and ran until my legs burned and my ears were full of my own heartbeat. When I got home, I locked the apartment like a fortress and sat on the floor with the binder photos burned into my phone. I felt like I had crossed a line. There was no going back. I had proof. The files on my drive, the recording from the bar, and the photos from the binder. Pieces of a puzzle that painted a clear picture of systematic theft. I slept for a few hours that dawn, exhausted as if I had run for an entire day. The phone woke me at 2:13 as it always did. My voice on the line was softer this time, like a man who had just come from the edge of an abyss and lived. "You got it," it said. "Now what?" I asked. "Now we watch," the voice said. "You don't involve the police yet. You let Maya set a trap. Make it public enough to force them into a reaction. They will panic, and when they panic they make mistakes." "Why not the police?" I asked. The line buzzed with static. "Because when I went to the police, they dismissed it. They called it corporate housekeeping. They said I had no proof. They called my work ethics into question. They called my mental health into question." My chest tightened. "That happened to you?" "Yes," the voice said, low and hollow. "I thought I could stop them. I tried the official route. It cost me everything. This is the only way. You have to let it look like an internal leak. You have to force their hand." I didn't like the idea of playing with their lives, with other people's careers. But the files in my phone showed the human cost, jobs lost if they kept skimming, communities deprived of payroll money, contractors left unpaid. It felt like moral math. The voice had the kind of certainty that comes with trauma. "We set the trap," I said. "Get ready," it said. "Tomorrow night, when you upload the binder photos to a secure drop from Maya, don't do it from home. Do it from outside the building. People watch their own." The line went dead. Outside my window, the city breathed and traffic murmured. I looked at myself in the dark glass and barely recognized the man staring back. My beard had gone scruffy in the last weeks. My eyes had the tired focus of someone who had been pushed to grow up overnight. I didn't know then that the next few days would change everything in ways I couldn't predict. I didn't know that a single missed detail would allow them to trace who had been in the duct. I didn't know how thin the line between hunter and hunted could become when the hunter had once been the prey. All I knew was that I had chosen a side, and once the first stone was thrown, the ripples were unstoppable. The next day, Maya texted me a single word, "Ready?" I stared at it for a long time. My hands trembled when I typed back, "Tonight." She had already created a secure drop on a server she used for sensitive sources. All I had to do was upload the binder photos. They're simple, clean, but the voice's warning stuck in my head like a thorn. Don't do it from home. So I didn't. I packed my laptop into a worn backpack and left the apartment just after dusk. The city air smelled like wet pavement, and the neon haze of signs flickered against the clouds. I walked to a park where the Wi-Fi from nearby cafes bled into the benches. Sitting beneath a lamppost, I connected, uploaded the folder, and hit send. It should have felt like victory. Instead, my chest was tight, like I'd just signed my own death warrant. By the time I got home, my apartment door was ajar. Every nerve in my body screamed to run. But I pushed the door open slowly. Inside, the lights were off. My desk drawers were pulled open. My couch cushions slashed. My closet ransacked. Whoever had been there hadn't even tried to hide it. A single note sat on the kitchen counter. Just one sentence, typed in bold. "We know." I stood frozen for minutes. My phone buzzed in my pocket, and I nearly dropped it. At 2:30 a.m., right on schedule. I answered with shaking hands. "They know," I whispered. "Yes," my own voice said back, hollow. "They found out anyway." "How?" "I did everything you said." A pause. A heavy sigh. "They always find out." My skin crawled. "Then what's the point? Why warn me if—" Because the voice cut in, sharp. "This time, maybe you'll live." And then the line went dead. The next morning, I called Maya. No answer. I tried again at noon. Straight to voicemail. By evening, her number was disconnected. I rushed to the cafe where we had met. The barista remembered her. The journalist with the messy bun and the laptop covered in stickers. She sighed. Maya had left in a hurry, looking pale, and hadn't come back. Panic ate through me. I checked the server. The files I had uploaded were gone. Not moved. Not shared, erased. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat in the dark with a baseball bat across my lap, staring at my front door. Every sound outside felt like footsteps coming for me. 2:30 a.m. arrived like a ritual. The phone lit up. "Where's Maya?" I demanded the second I answered. A long silence. Then, "She's gone." My stomach dropped. "Gone? What do you mean gone?" "You don't want to know," the voice said. "Don't try to find her. Don't call her. Don't mention her again. Just focus on staying alive." I gritted my teeth so hard my jaw hurt. "You're me. You know I won't let this go." On the other end, I heard myself chuckle, bitter, defeated. That's what I said. The line went dead again. The next day at work, Tom acted like nothing had happened. He strolled through the office, coffee in hand, smiling, cracking jokes. But when his eyes met mine, there was something behind them. A glint, a silent message. "I know what you did." Stephen passed by my desk and tapped a finger twice on the wood. A casual gesture to anyone else. To me, it was a warning, a threat. I opened my drawer later and found a single bullet sitting there. No note, no context, just a bullet. I considered running, packing a bag, emptying my bank account, disappearing to another city. But every time I tried to plan, the phone rang in my head. The voice's words replayed. "You can't stop it forever." That night, the call came again. "You can't run," the voice said flatly. "You think you can disappear, but they'll find you. They always find you. Trust me, I tried." "Then what do?" I hissed. "You wait, you survive as long as you can, and when the time comes." The voice trailed off like it was choking on the words. "When the time comes what?" I shouted. Static filled the line. Then silence. I threw the phone across the room. Days blurred together. I stopped going to work. My fridge emptied. I lived on takeout and paranoia. Sometimes I thought I saw shadows outside my window, a figure watching from across the street. Sometimes I heard footsteps in the hall, stopping just outside my door. Every night at 2:30, the call came. The voice grew weaker, more desperate. Sometimes it only managed one sentence before cutting out. "Don't trust anyone. They'll come for you soon. Please forgive me." It was like listening to myself die, piece by piece. On the 7th night, the voice said something new. "They'll offer you a deal. Don't take it." "A deal? What deal?" I demanded. But the line cut. The very next day, my phone buzzed not at 2:30 a.m., but in the middle of the afternoon. An unknown number. Against my better judgment, I answered. "Hello." A calm voice spoke, not mine. Smooth, confident. "Stephen, why don't we meet?" he said. "No lawyers, no drama, just us. There's no need for this to get ugly." My blood ran cold. That night, the 2:30 call came as usual. "Don't meet him," my voice said. "If you go, you won't come back. But if I don't go, they'll keep coming after me." A pause. Then my voice whispered, "That's what you don't understand. It doesn't matter what you do. It always ends the same." The line clicked dead. I haven't left my apartment in 3 days. The food's almost gone. My phone sits on the counter, face down, but I can still feel the weight of it, like it's breathing. Tonight is the 10th night. In a few hours, it will be 2:30 again. I don't know what I'll hear. Maybe nothing. Maybe silence. Or maybe, for the first time, I'll answer and it won't be my voice on the other end.